Right, hey everyone. So I'm into my temple dogs at the moment, so I'm going to try and tie a kind of Kinermony Killer style temple dog using the same colours. So I'm going to use some clear glitter. Everybody online, I'm really sad, I've got nothing better to do on a Friday. I'm going to use some glitter tubing for the main body and some 1.8mm inner tubing. So I'm just going to cut possibly, start about an inch for this one, just over an inch, so about that, bit of that, and then I'm just going to cut a bit of an angle here, so we'll insert the tube, get this puppy in here. I'm doing a YouTube video as well, by the way, just in case if anyone says anything and I don't answer, it's because I'm concentrating. So just burn the end of this. Get him in here, put them through. We'll use this to push that back. So that's where I've got the inner tubing stopping there. And just cut this off. So I've been making a lot of franks recently, and I need something to break the mould. So I'm on 8/0 thread, which is probably a bit small, but that's just what I use. So just start past the cut there and just wind them in here. Well, I haven't made a huge amount of these kind of things, these temple dogs, but I've made a few recently, and I've had a few requests come through for guys fishing in Norway this summer. So I'm just getting some practice in with these, and actually really like tying if I can try and get the profile right. The last one I made, the tail was too heavy on it, as in the Fluoro fibre I put at the back was way too much. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pop a bit of this Mylar pearl in the back, just as a rear tag. Yeah, just a short one. Time in there what I like to do. Just a tiny bit of security. Just add a very small, I can find it, very small drop of super juice on here. Like so. Only a tiny bit. Don't want to overdo it. Wind him in here. Go down towards where the inner tubing stops and then come back on it. I'm going to do one more there. No, I'm not, apparently. So that's the rear tag. And just put one tie just over the top of it to secure it in, like so. If you can hear the shouting in the background, that's my children trying to go to bed. Right, so next thing I'm going to put, I was a bit undecided about which colour Fluoro fibre I was going to put on the back of this, because obviously it's not a usual colourway, or certainly a Kinermony type, but anyway, I'm going to use this blue Fluoro fibre for the tail. You can hear my missus shouting at my kids. Happy days. Should have been in bed ages ago. Right, so I'm going to try and use slightly less Fluoro fibre for this one. Definitely overcooked the last one. So I'm going to make it a tad longer too. So I'm going to tie one bit in here, like so, like that. I'm going to go forward a bit first, because the back of this I'm going to use silver flat Mylar, and I don't want it to bunch up too much. So I'm going to fold that back and just come over the top of that. Now I don't know if this is right or not. I know I'm certainly not the guru of making these types of things, but bloody children. I'm just doing my best here. So I'm just going to cut that a little bit longer than this bit here, just to hopefully get that nice taper. I'll deal with that in a second. I'm not going to leave that like that. Right, next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to tie in the batter body using this silver. But first, I'm just going to cut into the flat bit here, just to have a little bit of a taper for tying in. Just makes it a bit easier. So instead of tying in a flat end, I haven't done that particularly long, it's got an arrow and a shape on it. But that's going to be the last thing I'm going to tie in. First of all, I'm going to tie in some silver ribbing. So I'm going to tie that the whole way down the tube, like so. Like that. Then I'm going to put a body hackle on this, and the first colour for a Kinermony is the yellow, so I'm going to tie in a yellow cock hackle here. You can see that I've stripped one side of it there, but not to the bottom, because I quite like to have the end wrap to go the whole way around, so this is just for the body part. So it's not too heavy. Not too heavy on the body, so there's not too much feather on the body. So I'm just going to tie that in like so. Now I'm going to tie in the silver, so the silver is going to go about halfway up the body. So just tie in the newly cut bit, so, or not like so. I'm going to try and catch it in there. Those children are doing. Definitely not in bed, they should have been in bed ages ago. Right, so that's that tied in. Now I'm going to go down the body, cleaning up and tying in the silver wire and also the tag end of the yellow hackle, so it's all nice and uniform and neat, and the body is the same dimensions the whole way down. I'm just going to get rid of that, because from the front here I'm going to put in some black dubbing at the front, because in the Kinermony you've got blue, sorry, you've got the silver body and then you've got the black. So just to add a little bit of support, I can't glue all my tools down, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue just on the back end of this here to here, just on the back end really for the silver bit. I'm not so fussed about the dubbing, that'll be fine. Right, so try not to pull this out. Right, just make sure that covers the back. Come forward with this. Just giving that a nice silver bit. So I'm going to just go over this little bump here, like so, but I will tie back over that just to secure that in. My vise is a bit wobbly, I haven't put the feet down properly. So I'm just going to snip that away, just leave a tiny tag in there. Well, I always wonder whether I should do the rib first and then the body. Can't ever remember, well, no, which is the right way to do, but if you put the body hackle in first, then you have to wind the rib through the body hackle, but then if you put the rib on first, you don't have to wind through here. But then I always think the rib on top of the hackle is more secure as well, and I always tie my hackle in from the back rather than the front that way, because I think it's more secure. Personally, that's my thought. Right, before I do that though, I'm going to whack in some dubbing. and I'm going to use black because the front of the Kinermony is black. This is quite wispy dubbing, it's Semperfli stuff. I've got some much softer stuff, but actually I really quite like this because you can brush it out and it adds a bit of body to the fly as well. So I'm just going to go over the back of the silver bit here a little bit and keep adding as much as I need in here. This is going to be a Conehead, by the way. You might have guessed that from the plastic tubing. So I'm just trying to make it nice and neat. I like my flies to be nice and neat, not that that probably matters in the slightest, but that is just my preference. Trying to keep everything out of the way as well. Now that's why I use ATO threading quite a lot, because the finish is a little bit neater. Right, so we've got the body dubbing, you've got the silver at the back. I've got my blue tail on there, which I will taper in a little moment. I'm just not worried about that just yet. So I think because I believe it's the right thing to do, I'm going to put the yellow hackle in first. Because if I had dubbing at the back, I would probably put the wire in first, but because I've got this and this is a slippery material and I want extra security from the wire, I'm going to put this in first. Like so. Keep going over here. I've never really thought these ever looked particularly, and there's quite a lot in there actually. I'll just try and make a slightly bigger so I don't have to do another one. I don't really want to do another one because of the vein of the, there we go, that'll do. The vein of the cock hackle here gets quite thick. I don't really want that, so I'm just stripping this away. So I've got a nice clean tie-in point here, and I'm not trapping any hackle feathers. I mean, that's probably the hackle's maybe a fraction too big for this. I'll be told afterwards, no doubt, by a certain gentleman. If you're watching, which I know you probably aren't because you've got better things to do, you'll know what I mean. Right, so that is that. Right, now I'm going to tie this in. This is where I'm just going to push the fibres that way to try and get as few caught as possible. It's a bit fiddly, but you can see here, spend hours untrapping fibres. I think overall, once you've finished the fly, it looks alright. I think I probably end up getting a little bit too concerned about too many things that actually really don't matter. Certainly to the fish anyway, but aesthetically I like things to look as good as possible. Well, we all like things that look good. Right, so I'm just tying in that wire. I'm not unhappy with the body as it is. I've got a brush here somewhere I'm going to grab. So I'm just going to use this just to brush these fibres back a bit. Right, now I'm just going to taper off this tail. And again, I think that's a bit better. don't want it too blocky, and that's a nicer, thinner profile, that one. I'm happier with that than I was with the last one I did, for sure. Right, so that's the body, tail. I think I'm okay with that. Right, so next colours that we've got left to use are, we've got to put an orange hackle in, got to put a blue hackle in, and we've got these 3 colours to put in. So first of all, I'm going to do a TD wing. I had a conversation with someone about what wing to put in kind of after, or the first wing on Temple Dogs and Fox, because obviously it's a slightly heavier weight and it keeps the wing upright, and you tie it in backwards. Now, because this is a video and I don't want to make a tit of myself too much, I'm not going to try tying it in backwards and putting the other way, because I've never done it before, because I just couldn't. So I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to do this the way that I do it and teach myself to do it the proper way afterwards. Well, I'm not going to bulk this out too much either. I'm not going to make the wings too thick. So the first wing I'm going to put is a bit of yellow. I'm going to basically match it up with the tail for the first wing, and don't forget that these cock hackles here will keep the wing up as well, so that's helpful. So the first one I'm going to put in just there, so this goes in here like so, just a couple of turns there. And I quite like to add a little bit of I quite like to add a little bit of angel hair in between each wing, just to add a little bit of flash. So I'm going to use, well, sometimes actually, in the last one I was using the fluoro fibre in between the wings because it looked really cool, but for this one I'm going to use some glacier blue angel hair. So I just take a kind of few strands, 2 strands there, tie them in like so, and then fold them back, so effectively you've got 4 strands in there, like so, and then cut them individually so they're not all the same length and it's got a bit of wildness to it. So now I think I'm going to put in my orange hackle to go over here. So again, I've stripped back the front here, so it's a really nice easy tie-in and it's not too much bulk. Just a few turns there and fold it back to secure it. But sometimes this is where the head gets a bit gnarly, but hopefully it will be okay. So I'm just going to scrape back the feathers on this one. Sorry about the angle on the old Tinterweb Instagram, by the way. I've got the camera recording over here, so it's a bit tricky to have both. So I'm just going to get this in here. Again, in my head I'm probably thinking I'm tying in 2 short fibres to start with, but alas, I'm going to do it anyway, because these fibres are thinner, smaller than I want to kind of match the length, so I should probably make them longer than the yellow fibres beneath, so it kind of has a small, yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to undo that and have less turns but of longer fibres. Not happy with that. So I'm just going to strip some of these back and start again with that hackle. Because I want to get the longer fibres down here, not the short ones at the top. I'm just going to speed this up a bit, just cut them away like like so. Right, so by cutting those away, I can tie that back in here. Now I've got the longer fibres that I want, not the shorter fibres. So I'll just tie that back in there. I'm not going to fold it back this time because it's got some of the short fibres in there which will help hold it together. Like that. Hopefully that will make the profile a bit better. Right, get the old Hackle pliers out. So I don't want to put too many turns in here. So maybe another one. So there we go. That's better. They're longer. And as I always do, strip away the fibres. Yeah, do. Just cut that away. Oh, I've got hair in my mouth. Right, so now I'm going to add in. It's alright, it's alright, it's alright. Right, now I'm going to add in orange wing, which is going to be longer. Again, not too thick. Like so. This is going to be slightly longer, you can see, than the yellow one underneath. Again, not too heavy. It's going to have nice movement to it, hopefully. That profile's starting to show up nicely. I'm going to show you something I do in a second as well, which I think is possibly maybe a little bit of cheating, but who knows. Right, then I'm going to add in a few more strands of angel hair. I've got a few more here, got a decent lump, if you like. You can hear my missus eating, she's going to be annoyed with me. Never mind. I like this blue. I like blue in flyers anyway. I just really like blue angel hair. I think it shows up really nicely. I think it looks really cool in the water. And with that blue tail as well, I think that's going to look mint in the water. Right, so I've got one more Hackles put in, another wing, some JC, and then I've got the cone, and then we're done. Not quite sure about the profile of this tail. Let's try and slim it up a bit. There we go, that's a bit better. Right, so next I'm going to put the blue Hackle in, but the first thing I'm going to do quickly, or when I tie this in, I'm just going to put, because you bulk up at the front a bit, I'm going to put a tiny bit of super glue on the thread. So when I tie it in, you've got a little bit of hold, an extra hold. I suppose that's why they use wax for the same kind of purpose, but I just use a tiny bit of glue just to help when I tie in. When I tie in the blue Hackle, it doesn't kind of drop and slip forward. You can see there's a little bit of an a little bit of gap underneath. which, you know, usually you don't see because it's covered up with the, when you buy these things usually you don't see them because it's covered up with the cone head. So, revealing all. So let me put this forward. I suppose this is kind of like the colours of the usual, maybe. The usual Semperfli. You can see there. It's just slipping away a fraction. Got those nice long fibres on there now. Right, so now I'm just going to do what I always do, strip away the excess. So I've got a nice clean tie-in point. Come back, see if we can get the angle nice and tight. That's pretty cool, I think. Personally, I think that looks pretty cool. Nice colours. So I've got a nice small front head here as well. I always worry putting a wing on last at the front. You get a big bulky head and it pushes out and you can't put a cone on it. Sometimes I put the Hackle in last to keep it all from. So there's that, and then the last little bit, going to add a nice long bit of black TD in here. If I can find a nice long bit. These come in packs, they're great, really nice stuff, this temple dog. Again, I don't want the wing to be too long, but I want it to be longer. Sorry, too heavy. But I want it to be marginally longer than the one underneath it for that nice taper. So just strip out the bits in there. And then add this onto the top of there. So again, just a little bit longer out there like so. And just a nice tie in there. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. I think you guys won't be able to see it quite as well on the phone, sorry. But I'll take pictures obviously afterwards and then you guys can see it. And then this is going on YouTube too for tying video just to bore people's tears. I'm nearly done, just got a few more little steps to do. I think that's quite cool. So I'm just going to add, just for fun, I'm going to put in 2 strands of the Fluoro fibre rather than the angel hair, just because I can. I think a lot of the temple dogs have peacock on the top, but I definitely have not mastered how to tie them in effectively and do look as they're supposed to. So this is my cheat way, easy way. So I've got 4 strands there, which, you know, does help the final taper there with this fly. Just got a really nice long wing. The movement in this is going to be super cool.